What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Lake Julian Disc Golf Course for a control driver, but we are kind of lumping this into the distance driver category. This is the 9-speed Wrath from Axiom Discs. The flight numbers given are 9, 4.5, 0.5 turn with 2 fade. We are comparing that against this Metal Flake PD, the Lone Howl 3, and the flight numbers of the PD are 10403. Now, comparison-wise, somewhat similar. I don't know how similar it's going to be. So we do have the straighter PD just in case it turns into more of a straight PD option. We have all our options. Let's start throwing some discs. Right here it feels like a tailwind. The waves are going right to left on the lake, so I'm assuming probably a right to left crossing wind when you get out there. So we're gonna go PD first. Make sure we give it well. Cool skip shot. There was no height. I don't know what I was talking about. Now it's time for the Wrath. Height, actual height this time. What am I doing? I'm throwing skip shots on the water. Well, let's go throwing actual shots later. So, the Wrath was in kind of the traditional landing zone for the hole. Maybe you threw it a little bit short, you land right there. I've never started off a video with 2 water skip shots. Wow, cool. I don't know how that happened because I threw them on hyzer, so they should have lifted with the crosswind, but they stayed low. I'm confused, but I'm gonna try to get that out of my head. We're gonna go ahead and throw a forehand here, and I think that while the PD is pretty flat, it does have a little bit of dome to it. This is the traditional 9-speed rim from MVP Axiom that just, or 9-speed flight plate that just is very flat. This is probably the Axiom version of a Tesla. So, might be cool. Well, if it rolls to the other side of the fairway, that's unfortunate. But this fairway does that. This PD, I threw it pretty flat. So, I think that's the fun. And for interest's sake, for me personally, I'm going to throw the straight PD because I'm interested to see if that's a straighter PD or if I just torqued it a little bit to make it go straighter. It doesn't have, it's still, the nose hump that I keep talking about with all the PDs. The Wrath has a slight one. So it might actually be one of the best discs for this. I don't know how it went that far. I'm still confused as to how it went that far because it went further than both of the PDs. The straight one and the stable one. And I threw the stable one pretty firm. How did it go that far though? I'm confused. On a hole like this, I would normally throw this PD hard and flat, maybe a touch of anhyzer. With the tailwind that we have, probably a touch of anhyzer, and get just a little tiny drift, consistent fade around the corner. This Wrath has the negative 0.5 already built in. So am I going to be able to throw it hard enough with the tailwind for that to just kick in, or am I going to have to give it some? I don't know, and I don't get a wind read because the Wrath has taken 2 in a row. This is a really good disc. I think I made it around the corner. I might have got caught up in the very last tree. Well, I know I'm not gonna hit the tree. And I still hit the tree. Wow, okay. Posterity, I guess we'll call it. Okay. The Wrath is much closer to a stable PD than it is to a straight PD. That was the type of throw that I would throw that light one on, the straight PD, before I realized that, you know, it actually was a little bit lighter than I expected. And so I wasn't giving it credit for it actually having a baby flip up. And I would go throw it on a shot like that, and it just would never come back, which is great. That shot is amazing when you need that shot, but when I wasn't expecting that shot. Anyways, this is about the Wrath. Hopefully, both of them made it around the corner. I'm fairly certain the PD got caught up in that bush, and they're flying fairly consistently. The Wrath goes maybe a touch further on a forehand, but I also think it's a touch shallower, so it might just get there faster, possibly. Still experimenting. PD takes his first point. I did give it a touch of anhyzer, just the babyest of flexes, whereas the Wrath was about as flat as I can possibly throw a driver. And it just stayed laser beam straight, faded off, caught up a little bit early. The yank to the right that I did with the PD kept it from catching up early, and it made it just barely past that tree. This hole is reverse, so instead of a tailwind, we now have a headwind, and it's about 380, maybe 350, somewhere between 350 and 380, I think. And PD has the box. Early on the release, I wanted that more out over the street. We'll see if we can correct with the Wrath. If I get this out over the street and it comes back, I think the Wrath takes point. Well, it's a little low. I do think I remember having this issue with the Tesla, where it would just come out low sometimes. So we're going to try to correct that issue. Let's move on from here. I think PD takes 0.2, so now it's 2 and 2. So it's taken 2 quickly back over the Wrath. However, if I remember correctly from throwing the Tesla, I had issues getting it to fully flex. So I'm wondering if this Wrath would actually be able to give me a little bit of drift. And let's be fair to both the Tesla and the Wrath, it doesn't have the dome, so it's going to fade out of its turnover faster than a domey disc would, aka this PD. So can I match the PD shot with the Wrath? we're gonna try, because this shot really does, you can go hyzer. It doesn't look like a good shot. The flex line looks cooler. I really didn't flex that very much, but we do also have a right to left tailwind. So we'll see if a little bit of extra form work and precision and consistency works out for me with the Wrath a little bit better than the Tesla. We're not done yet, but that was really, really, really good. All right, after that beauty of a shot, Wrath 3, PD just with 2. Let's see what we can do on this hole. It's a pretty, yeah, it's pretty much straight right to left. So I think we put it out there and let the hyzer fall, and let's see which one of these we can put closer to the basket, shall we? Wrath has the box. Height-wise, with this wind, maybe 10 feet above the power lines. I'm not normally that good at that shot. I kind of just did exactly what I said I was going to do for like the first time ever. Oh, that's way higher. And way more right. It's not going to get the good flare skip. So one of the things that I had issues with the Wrath, or not with the Wrath, with the Tesla, was that I absolutely love Proton. It is one of the best plastics out there on the market. And the main feel difference that I get from Proton to Neutron is the Neutron almost feels like there's this extra layer that makes it feel tackier, just more, it almost just feels like there's something on my disc. But with the Wrath, I had issues with the Tesla being a tiny bit too shallow. With the Neutron Wrath, the Wrath might be more deep, but it's also, the Neutron is actually, that extra layer is adding a little bit extra depth to the disc that wasn't there necessarily on the Tesla, which actually makes this Neutron Wrath almost better than a Proton Tesla. And I hate to say it, but that might be the case. And so for this slot, the PD, which is actually deeper than the Wrath, for this slot, the depth is great, because then it makes sure that I'm holding on to it and I'm not accidentally early releasing. I'm following through on the line I want. But when you add more depth to your flex disc, sometimes you'll hold on to it a little bit too long, and this Wrath is just flying amazing. We're gonna see how long this Wrath flies amazing for, because it is going in the bag. This Lone Howl 3 is coming out for the time being. We're gonna see if I can actually fall in love with this Wrath. Not the biggest fan of Neutron plastic, but it does something for the Wrath that the Tesla just didn't quite have. Other than the fact that Tesla with the black rim is just really, really MVP, the black rims. Cameras can't see black, especially when the background looks like that, okay? So your discs are great. I would love to throw a trail more, but make one with a colored rim so I can see it, please. Okay, rant aside, we're gonna go for bombing flex shots. Wrath first. How far can we make this go? Putting on intentional anhyzer with a headwind. What can we do on this hole? Perfect. Faded right in front of the Mando sign and landed on the drop zone. How much more perfect could I get? And that one just parks the short. Cool. The main difference here is that I'm not sure if the PD or the Wrath is more stable. Honestly, at this point, they might be the same stability. But the glide versus no glide, or the dome versus flat, does more things for the stability for this style shot. And for some reason, normally for me, the domey disc works better on a flex line. But for me, for some reason, this specific Lone Howl 3, I have a really hard time actually getting it to come over. And I mean, the last couple of throws with the Wrath, it's just, not saying you have to go buy a Wrath, but if you haven't thrown one, maybe you should check one out. Hopefully you guys enjoy content like this. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. And if you want to be entered into monthly giveaways, check out the memberships as well. Until next time, I will see you out on the course.